Initially, the trade war only felt like a small ripple in the middle of a lake. The story only revolved around the raised tariffs, trimmed exports, and giant companies holding their breath. The world thought this was just one economic drama that would be resolved in a roundtable negotiation. When the United States again raised import tariffs on Chinese products in early 2025, from electric vehicles, solar panels to semiconductor chips, the world thought this was just a new chapter in an old story. However, no one anticipated that this unilateral decision would be the bell that woke up a passive giant from its sleep. This is because China not only gave a very hard and surprising resistance to the American side, but also made the country that initially seemed so arrogant look like it had swallowed a devastating punch. Because without realizing it, or maybe even intentionally covering up the consequences of arrogance, the United States had actually been heavily dependent on China all along. So, when China closed its export-import tap for the United States, Washington truly lost its fangs and arrogance. Even when "Buy American" emerged in the United States, used by politicians and conservative media, ironically local products were unable to compete with the prices of Chinese-made goods. Consumers who were used to cheap goods from China now faced high prices and limited stock. Meanwhile, in China, a surge in nationalism grew rapidly and inevitably. Supported by influencers and digital campaigns, the public began to reject foreign brands. They abandoned Starbucks and made McDonald's deserted. A study by Peking University showed that 64% of China's young generation now prefers local products over Western brands, not because of quality reasons, but because of national pride. Not only that, in China, this trade war also gave rise to what is called the battle of Chinese influencers against luxury brands from the West. This means that in addition to the mutual tariff hikes or import blockades, the battle now also takes place in the form of narrative and image wars in cyberspace. Chinese influencers suddenly became troops that attacked Western luxury products using facts and ridicule that shook consumer confidence in Western brands while fanning nationalist sentiments proud of Chinese-made products. On Weibo, a Twitter-like social media platform in China, hashtags like "The United States is out of eggs but still dares to start a trade war" trended, mocking the irony that the United States itself was experiencing a shortage of basic necessities but still dared to start a trade war. Memes and political jokes also spread. Some shared photos of empty eggshelves in American supermarkets with mocking captions, and others called for a total boycott of American products. And of course, conversations on the Chinese internet were filled with veiled ridicule and anger. One interesting thing is that the anger and national pride found its outlet on a short video platform called TikTok or Douyin in its Chinese version. TikTok, which ironically is a product of a Chinese company, became the arena for the Chinese side to attack American public opinion. Suppliers and manufacturers in China began producing creative content in response to Trump's tariffs. They felt that they had been the backbone of global brands without adequate appreciation. And now, with the threat of tariffs making exports to the West more expensive, these manufacturers took an unusual step, directly courting Western consumers through social media. American media noted that this phenomenon was a new and unexpected trade war tactic. It all started when several TikTok accounts allegedly run by factory workers or manufacturing business owners in China began uploading confession videos in early April 2025. The pattern of these videos is quite uniform, featuring an individual in a factory surrounded by stacks of goods or workers speaking candidly to the camera while holding famous luxury products. They claim to reveal the secret that European or American luxury goods are actually made in China at a much lower cost than their selling price. In one of the most viral videos, watched millions of times, a person points to stacks of bags around them and says, "For over 30 years, we've been an OEM factory for most of the world's luxury brands, including Gucci, Prada, and LV. OEM here refers to original equipment manufacturer, meaning their factory is the one that actually makes products for these brands. However, This is usually unknown to the public because the products are shipped to Europe to be labeled with their brand. Then, smiling, they express their pride in their quality control, the expertise of their workers, and the complete supply chain they have in China. This statement gives a picture of the latent pride of the maker and that the quality of Chinese factory products is on par with the highest global standards. The tone and content of this video reflect the general pattern of other similar videos. The point is to expose the facade of Western brands and show that the value of a luxury product is just a logo. Not long after, another video emerged, highlighting specific products with more detailed information. For example, a video about the famous Hermes Birkin bag, known for its very high price. In the video, someone holds a classic brown leather bag that sells for $38,000, while the production cost is only around $1,400. In China, the rise of factory influencers has sparked a wave of national pride. Government media and nationalist netizens seized this narrative as evidence of the superiority of "Made in China." For years, the "Made in China" label has been looked down upon by the West, considered cheap goods with very low quality. However, now it's the Chinese manufacturers themselves who are flipping this perception. These viral videos affirm that even the most expensive Western brands heavily rely on Chinese production quality. One video even inserts a patriotic tone. "We have the best quality control. Our craftsmen are skilled and diligent. Our supply chain is the most complete. We can always get any material immediately." And now the United States and its little brother Europe are trying to reject Chinese goods. They think they can move factories out of China. They've tried and failed because outside of China, the quality is very poor. This narrative is very much in line with the domestic trend that has been growing over the past few years, known as Guoqiao, or the wave of pride in local products. The term Guoqiao refers to a national trend where consumers, especially young Chinese, increasingly favor local brands that promote Chinese style or culture. If Western goods were once seen as more prestigious, now there's a resurgence where local products are considered equal in quality to foreign brands, even cooler because they reflect national identity. Chinese state media certainly didn't stay silent. Government-owned newspapers and news channels like Global Times also highlighted this trend with a tone of victory. Although they didn't explicitly praise the cost-revealing actions that violate business ethics, they emphasized the importance of China's role in the global supply chain and accused the West of hypocrisy regarding their "made in" labels. The West sells luxury dreams made in Italy. But the reality is China working hard behind the scenes, wrote an editorial without mentioning specific brands. Anti-Western sentiment was also fanned. It was reported that there was a discourse in China that would allow counterfeit Western products to flourish in retaliation for US tariffs. Even a rumor circulated, later denied, that the government allowed the legal sale of counterfeit American brands as punishment for the US. Although this sounds excessive, the news alone was enough to cause a stir, as if giving a green light that producing and buying counterfeit Western goods was a patriotic act. On the other hand, it's worth noting that the actions of these influencers are not entirely driven by pure patriotism. There's a clear business interest at play. By revealing production secrets, these manufacturers hope to attract direct buyers. After all, China's economy is also affected by the trade war, and high tariffs on exports can lead to a decline. Therefore, selling directly to foreign consumers is a good defense strategy for these factories. It's as if they're saying, "We have the products, so come and buy from us." And it must be acknowledged that this strategy has been quite successful in attracting foreign buyers. When these videos went viral on TikTok, Western consumers' reactions were mixed. Many were shocked and even angry to learn that the luxury goods they bought at high prices might not be entirely authentic. This controversy sparked a debate about transparency in the luxury fashion industry's supply chain. European luxury brands have long sold their heritage image, claiming their products are made by skilled artisans in France, Italy, or Spain. However, the public is now forced to rethink the authenticity of labels like "Made in Italy." Is it possible that 80% of the production is done in China, and only the final touches are added in Italy for labeling purposes? These questions, previously rarely discussed, are now being widely debated in the media. Some observers point out the loopholes in labeling laws. For example, the European Union allows products to be labeled "Made in Italy" if the final stage, such as logo attachment or quality control, is done there, even if most components are produced elsewhere. Some luxury brands are suspected of exploiting this loophole. One TikToker even openly accused these brands of deception, sparking outrage, especially among young consumers who care deeply about business ethics. However, beyond moral shock, there's also a more pragmatic response: enthusiasm for hunting down high-quality, affordable products. For some buyers, these videos are seen as insider tips, revealing shopping secrets that can be very beneficial. Shortly after the videos went viral, users started sharing information on how to order directly from Chinese factories. On Reddit, for example, people discuss how to differentiate between authentic factory products and counterfeit Chinese goods, share tips on trustworthy sellers, and post photos of bags or shoes bought cheaply from China. Not everyone immediately believes the claims made in these videos, of course. Some luxury goods enthusiasts and fashion experts remain skeptical, reminding others that branded goods are expensive for a reason, including design and prestige. Nonetheless, the hype has taken off. For some consumers, the potential financial benefits outweigh their doubts, especially in the uncertain economic climate caused by the trade war. In essence, Chinese influencers have built a narrative that China is the backbone of the global industry, producing high-quality products, while the West merely seeks to profit. Thus, the West's decision to punish China with tariffs is unfair and will not succeed. This message is conveyed through real-life stories that are easy to understand, far from economic jargon. It taps into nationalist sentiment and anti-capitalist feelings against the greed of big brands. This is a clever combination that resonates globally. Not only in China but also in the US, many consumers sympathize with the videos showing Chinese workers being paid low wages while luxury brand bosses reap huge profits. Meanwhile, the US and its Western allies are building a counter-narrative, warning people not to be easily swayed by Chinese disinformation. They call these videos a coordinated effort to stir up trouble, even labeling it TikTok information warfare. This isn't without reason, as TikTok has previously been suspected of being a tool for China to influence US public opinion. Now, in the context of trade, similar suspicions have emerged. US intelligence officials are reportedly monitoring whether there's any involvement from the Chinese government behind this viral trend. Without clear evidence, such suspicions are easily believed by anti-China groups, leading some hardline US politicians to call for a complete ban on TikTok, claiming it's been used for toxic economic propaganda. This shows that the trade battle has spilled over into issues of data security and information warfare. Interestingly, this opinion war also leverages the patriotism of opposing consumers. For example, Chinese influencers refer to American buyers as the US and its little brother Europe, trying to reject Chinese goods. This implies that Western consumers are also harmed by their own governments, forced to pay higher prices due to tariffs when they could get products cheaper. This fosters frustration among American citizens towards Trump's tariff policies. On social media, many Americans complain that these tariffs are stupid, forcing them to look for cheap goods on TikTok. Subtly, public opinion in the US has become divided, with some supporting tough measures against China and others feeling that these policies have backfired. This division is being exploited by Chinese influencers.